Hello, boys and girls. It's Mrs. Malloy, and I'm here to talk to you today about our essential question: what is nonfiction? We're going to specifically look at nonfiction text and what that means and the different types of texts that are considered nonfiction. There's a key word that we always use when we're talking about nonfiction text, and the word is called a fact. Can you say fact? Very good. A fact is a real statement that can be proven true. So it's a real statement that we can prove to be true. I want you to take some time and think about some things that you know to be real or true in our world. I'll give you an example. The sun is yellow. The grass is green. So I want you to think about some things that you know to be real or true. I'm sure you have a couple in your head already. And as I stated, an example is the sun is yellow, the grass is green. Those are things that are true that we can prove to be true. If we look outside, we can see that our grass is green. If we look up at the sun, it's kind of hard to see sometimes when you look up at the sun, but we can see that it's yellow. It might have a little bit of an orangish tint to it. Most of the time when we color and we see it in books, it's yellow. So those are things that are real and they are true. And that's what we're really going to focus on with nonfiction text. So nonfiction has some other key characteristics or key words that we use when we talk about nonfiction. I'm just going to put this up right here like this so you can see. So we talked about the word facts. Say facts. Very good. Nonfiction is also real. We talked about the word real in our definition of a fact. Okay, we talked about the word true in our definition of a fact. So facts, real, true, and the most important thing is that nonfiction gives us information. Okay, information. So when we look at different types of nonfiction text, the first thing that comes to my mind that's the most easy to recognize as a nonfiction text is a book. So I'm going to put that up here on our chart. Okay, a book. I have a couple nonfiction books here for you. From Egg to Robin. So this will give us facts, real information about how an egg turns into a robin. And robin is something that we see in the springtime, and it's something that you probably might have outside your house right now, a nest with these blue eggs. Give yourself a thumbs up if you have seen this nest or a nest like this with blue eggs. Okay, so it's something that happens in spring, and it's a nonfiction text. Some other nonfiction texts that I have are in the forest. So this book would be all about forest. I'm guessing it's going to be about forest animals because there's an animal on the front. We have Kids Care About the Sea Animals. So it's at the beach, but they're animals that are at the beach. We have All About Turtles. So this would be a book that would give us information or real facts about turtles. And then Saving Animal Babies. This would be a book about animals and their babies that they have. Okay? So these are all nonfiction texts that are real and can be proven true. They give us information. Another type of nonfiction text that we have is a newspaper. Okay? A newspaper, I have an example here, is something that your parents or your family might get in the mail, and it gives you information about something that happened in our area or in the world for that day or that week. Now, Mrs. Malloy doesn't get the newspaper, so this is just something that comes in my mailbox where it shows a house and then gives a little bit of information on certain topics. But a newspaper normally gives information about things that are happening in our area. The next one is a magazine. So put that right there. I have two different types of magazines, and both of the magazines relate to jobs that I do and a job that Mr. Malloy does. So my job is teaching, and this is a magazine about teaching. So it gives me all different types of information and facts about teaching and how it applies to my life. The other magazine is landscaping, or tools that can be used for hardscaping, landscaping, because that's what Mr. Malloy does. So he's always looking at different tools and items within this magazine that might help give him different information and ideas of what he can use for his job. Okay, so those are probably some common ones that you have in your house: a book, a newspaper, and a magazine. Now, Mrs. Malloy didn't have the next two in my house. In fact, I don't even really know if a lot of people have them in their house, because nowadays we just use the computer, something called Google, to look things up. But there are two other types of nonfiction text. One of them is dictionary. Okay, a dictionary is where you can look up a word and it'll give you the definition of what that word means. Like I said, a lot of times if we want to know what a word is, we come to a word and we're not really sure what it is when we're reading, we could simply go on the computer or our tablets, iPads, and we could look up that word and it would give us the definition. Before we had things like computers and iPads and tablets, we had just books. It was just a book form that would go from A to Z, any word you could think of, A to Z, and it would give a definition of that word in the book. So that's also something that's considered nonfiction, as well as encyclopedia. Okay, so the encyclopedia is something that gives you information about different topics. So say you want to look up information about flies, grass, and honey. You don't necessarily want to go to the library and get a book out on each of those things. So you can get an encyclopedia that covers those three topics, and you can look for the word fly and it'll give you information about fly. You can look for the word grass and it'll give you information about grass. Or you could look for the word honey and it'll give you information about honey. So an encyclopedia is one book, that holds a lot of topics. It has a lot of different topics and gives us different information. So just to review some of these nonfiction texts that are more common that you might find in your house are a book, a newspaper, a magazine, an encyclopedia, and a dictionary. And all of these things have facts, are real, true, and give us information. Now, the last thing I want to go over in regards to a nonfiction text is that nonfiction text can be written about several different things. So let's take a look. I'm going to move this over here so you can see it a little better. There we go. Well, let's take a look at some things that nonfiction can be about. So probably one of the easiest things that we know nonfiction texts can be about are animals. Okay, and that would be something like a cat. Maybe we want to find a book about a cat. Okay, cat. Another thing would be people. Maybe we want to look up or find out information about Abraham Lincoln. So we would go to the library and find a book on Abraham Lincoln. And all of these topics are things that you can actually go to our library when you get back to school and you can pick out a nonfiction book about these things and it'll give you information. Another topic would be things. Okay, and those are things like maybe sports, baseball, softball, soccer. Okay, we have places. That might be something like Disney World or the beach. You want to find out specific information about maybe Ocean City, New Jersey. Maybe that's where you go for your beach. And the last one that a topic can be about is an event. Okay, an event is something that takes place. So when I think about things we've talked about in our curriculum already that are considered an event, I think about the word Thanksgiving. You think about the Native Americans and the Pilgrims got together and they had this big Thanksgiving feast, okay, because they were celebrating being able to have all that food. And Thanksgiving would be considered an event. So like I said, you could go to a library and get a nonfiction book, or you might find an encyclopedia, a magazine. There might even be a newspaper that has one of these topics and it will give you real information. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to go around your house and find something that's a nonfiction text. Maybe it's a book, maybe it's a newspaper, a magazine, maybe you have an encyclopedia. And I want you to write 1 to 2 sentences or facts from that nonfiction text. Have a great day.